and indeed has disappeared from view in the country, is the question of immigration and border controls. You know, it dominated politics for a few years. Arguably, it was the issue that made the referendum go the way that it did. And earlier on this morning, I spoke to Lord Andrew Green, the chairman of Migration Watch, about why immigration has barely been mentioned.
I think for two reasons, probably. One is it's been rather drowned by Brexit, which in a sense encompasses it, and as you mentioned, it was a major factor in the Brexit vote. So all the talk about in or out or how or when or why has absolutely dominated the media. But secondly, I think there's been a reluctance by our political leaders to actually deal with a matter of real importance to the public. And it puzzles me, I must say, and I think it's a count against our democracy that something of such importance is laid to one side.
Well, Boris has begun to talk about it again. And, of course, you will remember better than most, back in March 2009, as Mayor of London, Boris was talking about an amnesty for anybody that had earned it, which potentially, you know, could have been many hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, has Boris appeared to be soft on this issue over the years?
Well, he claims to be a, quote, liberal, unquote, on immigration, so I think he probably is soft on immigration generally. But an amnesty is something quite different. I mean, first of all, it's really important to the public. I think 77% regard it as a serious concern, and they're absolutely right. I mean, for a start, amnesties don't work. Their main effect is to encourage more illegal immigration. That's been shown several times. You wouldn't believe this, but Italy has done 3 or 4, Spain has done 3 or 4, France has done a couple. Every time, almost every time, there were more applicants. So it simply doesn't work. And it's, of course, wrong in principle to reward illegal behaviour, and it's unfair to migrants who come by the correct channels.
Yeah.
Bizarre position to take, frankly.
Yeah. Now, he has I mean, from your perspective, certainly, and mine, he's improved this. He's now saying, as he's, you know, heading very close, we think, to being anointed as the leader of the Tory party, he's now saying that migrants that come should learn English. He's now saying that those that come illegally, you know, shouldn't be allowed to stay. But if they've been here for 15 years or more, you know, illegally, but put roots down in this country, they should be able to stay. Is that of itself perhaps sensible?
No, because it is still an incentive for people to stay on illegally. There's no question about that. And to come back to your question of numbers, the most recent estimate by a former Director General of Enforcement, if you like, in the Home Office, put the number at over 1 million. We reckon that they're increasing by about 70,000 a year. Now, if you take an amnesty for people who've been here 15 years, that's 2004. Well, in 2001, the official Home Office number was 430,000. So, fair to say, 2004, 500,000 people would now qualify for an amnesty. And if you look at the cost of that, each additional person costs, on Home Office figures, somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000 a year. So you're talking, the cost of this programme will be of the order of £2.5 billion. I'd much rather see that spent on much better causes than this.
But there are practical problems, aren't there, in deporting people who've got houses and jobs? I mean, albeit illegally, it's not an easy thing to do politically, is it?
Well, it depends what case you make. I mean, the measures that the government have taken, or the previous government took, to make it more difficult for people to stay here when they had no right to be here, were the right way to go about it. Because you can't actually pick up 500,000 people and put them on a plane. That clearly won't work. But what you can do is to make it much more difficult for people to go on living here illegally. That was the right approach, and they should go back to it.
OK, thank you. And then I'll move on to the second part. Overnight, you know, a big...
Sorry, Nigel, can I add one other point?
Of course, yes.
I mentioned public opinion. It is very strong. We're going to put out a petition in the next day or two so that people can express their views.
OK, well, we'll look forward to getting the results of that. And I, like you, think this subject will come back to the front line of British politics at some point, perhaps before too long. Overnight, we have the news that the